Awesome, awesome. All right. Hi guys. I hope everyone can, see me and hear me. Please feel free to fill out the Q&As and any if you can't hear us, but I think you should be able to. Ron, how's it going? We actually didn't even get to catch up.
I know we didn't, but things are going great. And I think in like pure Q4 fashion, we're down to the wire and everything, right? So
That's
I wouldn't have it any other way. But happy Q4 to everybody, and
ooh.
excited to kick things off.
Amazing. Yeah, we're also going to get things flowing. In the meantime, we'll make an introduction here. And then on top of that, going into just some ice breaking. And of course, just going through what is to create a checkout flow that converts today with AfterSell. So this is what we're doing. And yeah, thank you, Ron, for actually joining. But before that, let's get into the slide real quick with an intro. So I am Alicia, the partnerships manager here at AfterSell. Some of you have seen me somewhere on Twitter, on LinkedIn. That's me. I think I'm the only one with a unique name there. Ron, what about yourself? Give yourself a little intro here.
Absolutely. Ron Shah. I am founder CEO of Obvi. Obvi is a women's health and wellness brand focused around collagen and making collagen fun and tasty. And we've been AfterSell customers for quite some time. So excited to explain our strategy up until this point and also our Q4 strategy and get into it today.
Amazing. Kevin.
Hey everyone, my name is Kevin. I'm a merchant success manager here at AfterSell. I've got about 7 years of experience working as an MSN and primarily in the e-com and MarTech space. So excited to sort of go through what Avi's been working on and share with you my thoughts and strategies as we were working on it together. So looking forward to
Yeah.
that.
Thank you so much. We're super excited to have you both here. And also, we kind of drag Kevin in because, he oversees Obvi's account. And we just want to make sure everything is intact. And, Kevin's able to help you guys do a little bit more of a guide of like one-on-one how to set up checkout. Super easy. And I guess it's like it takes about 10 minutes? I don't know. Maybe Kevin will have to like change me up on that part. But okay, guys, I do like to do a little bit of ice breaking before we start a webinar here, just so that people can roll in. In the meantime, I want to go back to just one simple question for you, Ron, is that if you could go back to any year, which one would you actually choose to revisit? It could be even your lifetime, or it could be, some other years that you prefer. We just love to do this during our internal team. And I think it's a nice way to break the ice here.
I will take any year before iOS 14.
Okay. Is there a reason why is that?
Yeah, iOS 14 made it pretty difficult for marketers to scale on Meta and Facebook ads. And I feel like before that, we didn't appreciate how great of data sources we had before all the
Yeah.
privacy changes. So I think in the D2C world, I think that would definitely be the time period I'd like to go back to.
That's amazing. I love how you're just in the business mindset as well. Nothing changed. I would assume you're like, maybe I want to go back to be a kid again. But
Yeah,
nope.
yeah. I think in my second day is go back to when I was a kid and I was still trying to become a doctor.
Yeah, those typical Asian
Yeah,
blood in us, right? The parents.
exactly.
What about you, Kevin? Anything that you feel like you would want to revisit again, go back, or just even in general?
Yeah, as you can see, I'm a bit of a crazy dog dad with my little guy Joe over there. I'd probably go back 11 years to when he was a puppy and relive that all over again.
Yes,
Awesome.
absolutely. I just feel like everybody loved doing that. I think for me, same thing. I would say going back to the 50s, even I'm not there. I just love how the women dresses and just in general, I love the whole Marilyn Monroe. Like call me crazy, but hey, that's how life is all about. But all right, let's dig into today's topic, how we can actually get checkout to convert. And I know there's people still rolling in, but in the meantime, I'm kind of curious who can actually relate to this. I know we are talking about this is actually a poll that goes live here, is that if you actually are aware that a lot of e-com businesses these days are actually getting tougher and it's just harder than expected. We all know that. I think, Ron, you can also feel this as a brand yourself. And, we kind of see like fluctuating in costs and goods and materials. You're actually paying so much money to acquire more customers on social medias, or even, customers are expecting like free shipping at all time and not paying anything. That's even, a great way to do it. Like Ron, which part of this can you relate? I know you're gonna say all of it, but like, what is the one most, I guess, like challenging for you, and how are you overcoming that right now?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, like you're right. I can relate to a lot of it, but there's definitely one that sticks out the most. And I actually think it's the customer expectations of free shipping. This one is like I feel like it's not talked about enough, but it's like table stakes. Like, oh, you don't offer free shipping, like, or you don't have a certain threshold to offer free shipping, and it's crazy because this is like this is a factor of our e-commerce equation that is so big, right? Like if your product costs $8 to $10 to ship, let's say, right, that's $8 to $10 in margin that
Yep.
people are just expecting for free.
Yep.
Like, you know what I mean? So like to start off your unit economics and contribution margin with a negative 10 or $8 is very tough. When we started to do it, and our collagens are £1 or a little bit over £1, and so they cost $10 or $11 to ship anywhere in the US. And I remember we just got crushed because we're like, if we don't offer this, all our competitors have an upside. But if we do offer this, we are now starting out in a hole to now make back our contribution margin. So I think it's such a tough one to navigate sometimes.
Yeah. And like, is there anything that you guys are currently, I guess, how do you overcome it? I was assume that you still have that free shipping, but with a certain threshold, just so that it kind of meets that, I guess, like your profit out there. Like, how you kind of like overcoming this challenge that you're.
Yeah, there's been actually a couple of cool tests we've done. So one, we were like, hey, why don't we test giving it free no matter what, but we'll increase the cost of our products to at least, bring that down. So if it costs $8, let's increase it by $5. Now we're only $3 up, right? And I think that worked okay. And we were always like in and out of testing different things, but I think that worked well. Now I think more often than not with what I think our favorite thing to do is just offer free shipping after a threshold, which is if you basically order 2 items, it's free shipping. We just don't want to give free shipping to the person who has just 1 item, because you're just going to lose. So we're at $65 and above, it's free, which is like the perfect number to hit with 2 items.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, again, same thing in your checkout right now. There is a way for you to put a certain threshold. And I like the idea of putting your product a little higher just so that they cover the profit margin here. It seems like you're right. Nobody's actually talking about this customer expectation like free shipping, because it seems like on the vote, there are people saying that the rising cost of acquiring customer and also pressure to discount and run promotion. Like, how do you think that, people that are actually facing these as a brand, like, how would you help them, like, to share a couple tips here on maybe just the pressure to discount? I feel like you don't really have to discount all the time, but what are some ways that you can change that?
Yeah, great question. If you go to our cart, I encourage you to check out our cart, myobvi.com. One of the things that we did on our cart is we made it seem like the free shipping is like the discount to earn, and like the big, like, again, on our bar, a lot of people put a lot of different things. We just put the free shipping, and like that was like the holy grail. Forget discounts and all that. Obviously we'll offer discounts, but our main thing was like, hey, you got to get to this free shipping threshold so that you literally get our best savings. And I think it's about how you glorify it. Some people I see, like, they'll just put it on the announcement bar and nowhere else. And it's like, that's just not enough credit to yourself, because you're literally eating $8 to $10 right now. Make sure you're letting people, put it in people's faces that you're doing this for them, right? That you're giving them free shipping, or, hey, surprise and delight, we're going to give you free shipping today, and this is on us, right? And I think that part is super, super important. That's number one. So don't discredit giving free shipping. Find at least 3 to 4 locations on the website's journey to showcase free shipping. And if someone's going to earn it, let them know they earned it. So we have a little bit like of a confetti that goes on when somebody unlocks it. Number 2, I think the only other thing I will say when it comes to free shipping, be nimble with like your thresholds. I think some people are just like very used to saying, oh, $50, oh, $100, $75, and like these round numbers that they see on other people's websites. What we did was we actually went and looked at what is the average rate, or what is the average order value when people buy 2 items and use the general discount that is most generally used, what is the value come down to, right? Because you don't want to be like, what if our value is at 70, but most people would spend 70, but after the discount they get to 65. Now we're losing out on giving people value who are following the instructions of buy 2 items or more, but we're not actually looking into it. So really study what are people actually spending and doing so you can make an offer around that.
Yep. Totally agree. And I do like the way you guys set it up on your upsell. And I still like that is like a good example that I love to take it to kind of share with other brands and say, like, really copy how Obvi does it. It's just so strategic. And I think it's like a great way to make sure that you don't lose any profit out or even the margin perspective. Yeah, thank you so much, Ron, for sharing on that part. Now let's get into and thank you so much, guys, for sharing more on the poll side. Please feel free to vote and also ask as many questions as you can. We will answer them at the end of this session. All right. So as you guys may or may not know, like all these transaction moment is where the money making is at, right? The revenue, the AOV. And today we're really trying to nail down on the checkout offers that people don't really talk about enough. And because if you're not a plus, you actually don't get to leverage all these features. So maybe today, Ron can kind of give us an overview of like, what is it like to be a plus merchant and actually getting the leverage on that checkout? And yeah, Ron, like tell me a little bit more, because I know that, a non-plus merchants, they don't really get to leverage the checkout as much, but what is it going to be like if once they actually convert and be a Shopify plus and they are actually getting to leverage on the checkout? What do you think is like most of the things that you feel like you should like, okay, that's the first thing I need to put in, like the upsell or like the reviews, the testimonials, like what are one of the few things that you think like they should go and install first and like implement?
I mean, you said them all. Like I don't know if there's actually a real order to what you just said, because like I feel like if there was ever a time they should do things at the same time in parallel, it should be reviews, testimonials, upsells, and then like any other what we like to call like buyer upside features. So like hey, here's a reason you would buy from us. We like to call that out on our checkout. So any buyer upside features is huge. So I think those 4 things probably all at once is the best thing. But I would say if you had to prioritize in bandwidth and time, I think the one that is super important for us is the upsell feature, because we live in this climate where we can't really control as much as we like and what we used to the cost of buying ads and our CPA and what exactly we're going to end up seeing today from Meta or TikTok or whatever. But what you can control is how much money somebody spends with you on your website, how they convert on your website, how they're going through your journey. So if you can manage what you can control, there's so much better you can do for your business. So I love upsells, because one thing me and Ash are always talking about is like, how do we get this AOV up? Because if the AOV goes up, we can work less harder on trying to make the CPA come down, right? If I'm stuck at a $60 CPA, it's going to take a long time for Ash to bring that down to 55 or 50. But if we can get the AOV up to from 80 to 90, we can work 10% less harder on the other side. So I think that's super, super important.
Yeah. I really feel like you and Ash, you guys are like scientists sometimes. It's like you guys come with the numbers and data that we don't even think about. We're like, what other ways can we really improve? And you guys come with a lot of strategic ways of doing that. And on top of that, I know you're kind of like share a little bit more on the BFCM side after this, but yeah, let's get into some of the features that we were just mentioning earlier. But before that, there will be some of the numbers here that I would like to touch on, which is what are the additional profit per order you may actually be missing out if you don't have, all these like additional upsell features or even like widgets in your checkout. You're actually missing at least 41 cents for actually putting a first party offer or any sort of like promotional offers. And I do want to say, in like a couple months or months before this, we have not been improving on like the feature side, but now that we did, we felt like this is like 33 cents of an increment of like from 8 cents to up to like 41. This is insane in just a couple months, just because we can do a lot of things right now with like A/B testing or upselling and a lot of all these additional stuff. So I want to like dive into some of the features that we currently have. And then Kevin will actually walk you through on a guide on how to really set it up like a one-on-one. And it's going to be really quick and easy. So let's get into this. That what we have here is one of Vera's. It's also really, if you go into their account or even Obvi's, like you get to see all their checkout, what is already a placement holder there. And some of the important things that we mentioned was the sales motivator bars, which is like your rewards bar, right? You want to put a certain threshold. You don't want to put too much, too high or too low. You really want to make sure you're strategic behind this. Trust badges and testimonials, very, very important. I think these are some of the things that you must add, just because if you have more authentic of what the customer has been mentioning about your product, that's the go-to to help you to upsell even more and get people to add that into their cart. Upsell and cross-sell, that's like something that is already our bread and butter. And again, that is something Ron mentioned earlier, that you should have that add on, no matter, if you really are bandwidth problems or like you don't have the time, have that set up on the first thing and put all customer. Really, but I want to say, Obvi's team, they go all out. They actually go, product by product. And I don't know, this is like probably the really strategic way for them to really increase that AOV. But if you really don't have that time, there is a way for you just to do all customer with AI recommendation, which Kevin can actually walk you through as well, how that works. Advanced checkout widgets and also match your brand. Those are like the number 1, 2, 3. Make sure like to have them in there just to make sure that it really feels like it's a journey. And on top of that, there's a storytelling for people to add all these products into their cart. Now, the testimonial, the trust badges and testimonial, like I mentioned, we've seen like at least a 10% to 15% of average that converts, right? And of course, that means an average of 5 to 7% AOV of increase. Like Ron, like I feel like some of the things here is like you guys would have done too, like with reviews. Like, do you have like do you go by the product that you want to put it as a review, or would it be specifically on like, oh, the results? Because I think that's like your go-to. If you're really consistent with your protein, like you're actually gonna see that results. Like, what is your, I guess, tips here to put on the reviews here? Like, would you go by that? Like, what is like some of your go-tos here?
Yeah, this is a great question. What we like to do is actually go by what is the general reason somebody buys our product, right? So some of our top selling products are weight loss oriented. And so what we're going to focus on is many of our products are weight loss oriented. So we're going to go general enough to make weight loss our main review call outs. And to make sure that people can align on like, okay, most likely in their cart, they have something weight loss oriented, so they can align to that. Versus if you think about it, we're really a collagen company.
Yep.
And obviously a lot of our products have collagen and stuff, but people aren't necessarily always buying our products because it has collagen. They're buying our product because it helps with the weight loss. Oh, by the way, it has collagen. And so like being really truthful to yourself and knowing like, yeah, I'm a collagen company, but I know people aren't really only buying my products because I'm a collagen company. It's super important to recognize that. And I think a lot of companies miss out on that. It's like, what is the real reason your product ceases to exist and why do customers really buy it? Focus on that for the reviews.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And then, of course, having it 5-star, that's like your main go-to. And this is something that you as a brand can control. Like, I think that's the part where you really want to be more strategic and pull out the most relevant reviews that make sense to all your customer base that will be reading them. We did have a poll out there, Ron, and we actually asked people, like, what are the conversion rate that increase would make noticeable difference for their business? And we've got like at least 66% that mentioned about 6 to 10%. Like, I'm kind of curious to your point of view as a business owner. Like, do you think this is like a good average kind of like percentage that they should think about, or would it be higher, or this is like a good average, like as a startup or even just a business that have been doing it for many, many years?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think you have to look at this, and part of this is like, I don't think we always talk about this, is you have to look at this from like time and value too. If you're spending time ideating, hiring your developer to put time into it, driving visitors to go to half a test and another test and splitting that traffic, and you're trying to put all these resources and time towards hopefully getting a conversion gain, right? Getting 1 to 5% increase, like there's so many other things you can do that can probably give you a bigger boost with your time and resources allocated towards that, rather than getting a 1% increase. I think 6 to 10% is where you can say, you know what, this is actually worth it, because now I'm going to get significantly more orders, significantly more revenue, and a significant growth month over month on my revenue and trajectory of orders. So I do think that's the sweet spot. Anything below that, we also feel like, damn, did we just waste that time?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that makes a total sense. So, hey guys, if you guys, whoever put 1 to 5%, if you think that's like a good noticeable, then I guess that is something that you need to put your expectation a little higher. It is okay to feel like you need to increase that 6 to 10%, maybe a little tougher, but it takes time. And with more strategic out of it, I think you will be able to nail that kind of like a way to sell more to your customer. Now, let's get into this where Avi has a little setup, but it's kind of blurry. Almost seems like I want to do like a teaser here, but we'll show you a little bit more on how they set it up on their checkout. It is very cool. I think Kevin will show you guys more on that. But just to give you guys a little bit more advance on the checkout widgets that we have, which is the rewards, the cart control, which if you have a subscription, you want to do an upgrade, that is also possible. You want to modify it. That's really a doable thing. And of course, on top of that, an upsell, like all these 3 little things, do not miss out, even if it means like, all right, just do upsell for now, but we've actually seen at least a 10 to 25% overall conversion rate of impact. So these are some of the most important things. And of course, if you are not aware, we also have a way for you to do A/B testing, which Kevin will also walk you guys through a little bit further in depth after this. So this is one of Avi's previous kind of setup, but now we have a newer setup, and I'd love to have Kevin on the stage right now to kind of show you guys a little bit on the back end and how simple that is. So Kevin, I'll let you take it here, and I'll put yours on stage right now.
Awesome. Well, I guess first off, just want to make sure that for who hasn't seen it before, but AfterSell, we've built a bunch of our widgets here for your team to easily take advantage of. We've made these widgets to really simple for your team to set up, to add to your checkout. It doesn't really need any custom coding or anything on the back end there. So anyone can really do it if you have someone on your team that has the time. You can easily make these and implement these changes. But for today, we'll focus on a couple things, and what Obvi's really done well is the upsells, the rewards bar, the testimonials, and the trust badges. So if you want to dive into, I guess, like the upsells here. So within the upsell widget, there are a couple different configurations that you can actually set up. So in this case here, we've tried like multi-product, single products, but again, there's also like a check mark upsell that you can do, where you can upsell a single product with a checkbox. This is actually often used by merchants who are doing things like maybe shipping protection, or if they want to add like a small little cheap item for free for them, things like that that can be done. But what Obvi's chosen to do in their case here for their upsell widget is they went with a multi-product upsell. And so from here you can see that they've done a choice with the triggers, and so they've chosen to do this to show for all their customers. But you do have a choice to configure this conditionally. So if you have a specific subset of customers or specific guidelines that you want to use to target a specific customer, you can do that as well. But what we're doing here is we're showing it to all their customers. And they've chosen to actually highlight their best selling products. And I know this isn't the best for everyone, but it's what's worked for Obvi. Some of you may have thousands of different products or hundreds of different products that might be difficult for you to know which one's like the best one to choose. But like what Alicia mentioned earlier, we do have like the AI recommendations that you can do. So instead of choosing just like the specific product here, you can actually add based on like the automatic upsells rather than just like your specific product. But if you do know what your best sellers are, I do highly recommend it. If you know that they're highly converting, they're selling well, make sure you highlight them as well. And again, this is just one use case. There's many different use cases that we can leverage, but knowing what the right products for your customers is probably the key to these upsells. But again, to be able to do that, we also do have like the A/B tests. So you can create an A/B test. You can duplicate it. You can create like a completely new one if you want, or you can see how it compares to no upsell at all. I don't usually recommend comparing against no upsell because we've seen that these upsells do perform. So do make sure that you have an upsell in your checkout, making sure that your customers are getting good deals, good products at the right time. The next thing that we can take a look at here is also our rewards bar widget, right? So Ron mentioned this earlier that they've set up a rewards bar for $65 as their threshold. And so this super simple to set up. This one is conditionally sold to only like their US customers in this case. But you can set this based on a cart total, whether it's the dollar amount or whether it's like the item count. So if you do want to see if uh, customers purchasing more items and you want to test that against maybe the dollar amount, you can do that too to see your customers whether they're preferring to add more items or whether they prefer to try to just to hit a certain threshold. You can do that too. And again, this depends on also like the number of products. If they range from very cheap items to very expensive items, it may be a little bit more difficult for the $65 threshold, let's say. So you may want to do it based on like an item count, but for Ron's team, they have specific products ranging from a very specific price point. And so it makes sense for him to do the $65 because, again, the math does math. So make sure to do the calculations on your own. If you're finding that a lot of your products clear that threshold very quickly, then you may want to consider doing it based on an item count. And so super easy to set up. All you have to do, decide on the specific factors you want to go by, set up your specific copy and text here, edit your specific brand colors, and you're pretty much good to go. The next thing here is the trust badges. So the trust badges, as you can see, Obvi's colored it to their specific branding. Obvi's done a great job in creating these trust badges in order to, again, reduce that friction with customers as well as increase that conversion rate with these trust badges. Obvi's made sure to answer some of the crucial questions some of their customers face, and especially in the health and wellness industry, they want to make sure that their customers understand the quality standards of their product. This helps again instill trust and confidence in the customer's purchase. Again, with that 90-day money back guarantee, this makes their customers a little bit more comfortable when purchasing their products as well. This again has reduced the friction at such a crucial point in that customer journey. So it helps reduce that abandoned checkout. The customers see this critical information without having to leave that checkout and go look for it in maybe the help docs or the resources or the FAQs. So this does really help in terms of that customer experience, making sure that you build that really strong relationship with that customer. So trust badges is super important, and they've done a really good job in answering those questions at such a crucial stage for that customer. And lastly, again, we talked about testimonials just a little bit here. We've got some review examples. This is, again, you can choose to, again, add in specific testimonials to specific products. But in Ron's case here, what they've done is that they want to make sure to highlight the specific key points for in terms of like what their customers are looking for, the overall value of their products. Again, by leveraging that social proof, we've again helped build that trust, establish more credibility, reduce that customer purchasing anxiety, and making sure that they know that they're getting a great product. And again, as a best practice, like what I like to share is make sure that you get detailed reviews. Don't just get reviews that say, "Hey, it's good, it's great," one word answers. But yeah, that's something that I want to make sure that we highlight as well. Again, detailed reviews, make sure that they're real, genuine, and highlight the value behind your product. Yeah, that's so far what we've done with Avi, and they've done a great job so far. So thanks again to Ashvin for being such a great help in doing this as well. I know he's not here on the call, but yeah, I wanted to make sure we highlight and give him credit too.
Yeah, absolutely. He's always here. Don't worry. But Kevin, can you also showcase a little bit on how the checkout looks like in Obvi, like the recent that is already updated, that it's live right now, so everybody can see it
Yeah.
as well?
It might not because I'm on the Canadian side of things for those who don't know. So maybe Alicia, it might be easier for you to
Correct.
because I won't get the rewards bar, unfortunately.
I agree. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. They were set up for the US and yeah. So I will pull this out and show you guys that this is how the setup will look like here on the Obvi side. And so this is where you, yeah, Kevin, do you want to like say anything else here, add anything?
No, I think we've covered most of it. Like they've highlighted their best sellers. They've gone in ahead and added the rewards bar. And again, keep in mind, um, as a as you build this out, you do have like the ability to customize your checkout in different ways. So you
Mhm.
can move the upsells, the rewards bar, your testimonials, your trust badges in different positions. So don't feel that you need to have it in specific spots, right? So because you might have other content that you have, but this is again what's worked best for Obvi. So take what you will with it, but you do have the ability to customize yours as well, and have these different widgets moved around on your checkout.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think this is just an obvious way to love to like make it more obvious and hence why they put it on the left. Ron, did you guys change your packaging or is it just there's more colors going on? The pink is a little bit
We've
there. We're
we've
changing.
done Ankit's done a little bit of a rebrand, so
Oh,
good on you to notice. You have a good eye.
yeah, okay. That's what I thought. I think I saw
Yeah.
some changes. I don't know if you guys did, but yes, that's what I'm noticing. There is a rebranding here going
Yes.
on. Perfect. Yeah, let's get back into the slide where I think everybody is actually waiting for is the gifting season, which is BFCM is coming. Ron, I know you guys have been planning for BFCM, and is there anything that you're changing up this year compared to the past few years or even just last year? Is there any
Yeah.
tips or even just couple, one or two things that you can share with the brands out here that might like to share some and take it and implement it themselves?
Absolutely. So we believe that this Black Friday is going to be the wonkiest one yet because you have Prime Day, less than a month before. You have election season. You have so many external factors going on, right? You're in this kind of macro environment unknown. There's so many things going on, and so we're kind of going a safe harbor route, which is we're actually running our Black Friday for the entire month. So November 1st to November 29th. And what we're doing, and so I think one of our hypotheses is like that week of Black Friday this year is going to be the most competitive if it's ever been, given it's also election season. So to just safeguard and not put all our eggs into 3 days, we're going to run the whole month. What we're doing each week of the month to keep things exciting is we're launching a limited product for each week. So we got like 500 units of like 4 products, and we're going to launch one each week. So we're excited about that. And then the next thing we're doing is we're doing our largest sale. So we're going pretty steep on discount. And then we also got 3 free gifts. And then we're strategically putting them at price points where it requires you to add only one more item to get to the next tier. So we're going to be starting at 70 and then 70, 90, and 110 are going to be the pricing tiers on the gift bar that you'll see. And we're giving a tote bag, a pill case, and a water bottle as 3 different gifts and different pricing tiers. So we just have a lot going on this Black Friday, but we're stretching it out to kind of play it safe rather than like hoping for the best with so many external factors. So that's one. And number two, we're going to be going a lot more aggressive on upsells because like I want to get as much product into people's hands before the end of this year. One, personal inventory reasons, right, for the business. But number two, just to be able to get people into the new year, new me mindset. It's better for them to be stocked up rather than not have enough. And then what we're going to do on the checkout page as well is the testimonials and trust badges. We're going to adjust it to a little bit of like Black Friday, Cyber Monday verbiage. So, for example, like the testimonials, what we're going to do is more around like I started taking Obvi. I started taking my Obvi products back in last November. and tying it more to the time period people are buying, and saying by summer of 2024, I already had lost X amount of weight. So people can kind of visualize what buying today is going to impact the next season, and the new year, new me kind of kickoff. And then we're also, some of the trust badges, we're going to change to show our best offer of the year instead of it just showing made in USA. Right now, we're going to add like best offer, best value of the year, just like things to really remind people, like, one, we are giving you our best deal. Two, this is the best time to buy. And three, there's a lot of value we're giving you with the discount plus free gifts. Just take the most of it. So yeah, quite a few different things, but wanted to give you guys the picture of kind of how we're approaching our Black Friday planning.
Yeah, you share almost everything. I don't know if there's any more in there, but this is super generous of you for really sharing it out on so many things that's happening. I did wanted to bring up that, it's election season. Like, this is going to be a lot for every brand to be a little bit more worried, because this year is not going to be the same, especially, you have BFCM, you have all these little things that's coming up as well. And we just want to play safe on that side. So I like that you guys are really taking a step back and making it more of like, I was also going to ask, like, are you going to extend it? Which means you say you're doing it for a month, and then with every week with a new little, I guess like product coming up. So I think that's a genius way of putting there. I guess, Kevin, like, do you have any sort of like, I guess, strategies as well that you would like to share from a merchant success perspective, because you have also talked with a ton of brands out there? Is there anything that you would change differently for this year?
For this year, it's just like Ron's covered a lot, but one of the key things is just like the messaging, like making sure to shift that mindset, making sure that to continue to building those relationships with customers, leveraging like testing out like different CTAs, different copy, even editing the branding colors to the season as well. I've seen some merchants do, but yeah, just making sure that you get that messaging out right in front and proper. That's something that's super important, because again, there's the caveat with so many different options out there is that you want to make sure that you have loyal customers. So what I've seen a lot of merchants do is that they've shifted a lot of the mindset for considering these just like last minute deals, but instead during like the gifting season, they started shifting the messages as like, here's a gift for you, like thank you for being a loyal shopper. We want to reward you with these discounts, and making sure that they feel like they're special, that they're getting something out of this for shopping with you. And that's a big shift I've seen coming towards like the holiday season.
Yeah, I agree. And when it comes to, I was just mentioning in the beginning of the webinar, if you guys have heard, I was mentioning about Obvi's way of upselling. Just look at the way that they're not too afraid of like going all out with their text, just because they're trying to really explain like why this is, an important thing, and you have it has a high demand product. And so they kind of would explain that you need to take this very consistently. And I think this is not for everybody, but of course, if you have a certain product that makes sense that you can really explain further, really take that opportunity to really explain and put more information, because it might help the customer and feel comfortable by adding more to their product. So yeah, I think this is like the time of the season. And I think like here at this point, Ron just shared like a ton of like tips and tricks that you guys can actually go ahead and implement if it makes sense for you. And yeah, if you're not already doing that for your upsell and post purchase, I think that would be a good one. I think lastly here, we have one more thing is that can actually help you also to generate profit, which is the network offers. One of our channel that one of the features that we actually have recently. And Ron, I wonder if you want to take this on, because I know you're very familiar with this, with network offers. And I'm kind of curious, how are you seeing this as an improved in your confirmation order page here?
Absolutely, yeah. I'll say something that I probably maybe some people will resonate with. Like, when you initially hear about network offers, you're kind of like, I don't know. And I think that's the right sentiment to have sometimes, because you have to like obviously question everything that you're doing that's different enough, especially in our industry when we haven't seen stuff like this. But I was definitely, my first instinct was like, wait, what is this? And why would I put it? And I think now when you look at it, what we've been on it for maybe 5 months, probably the single most easiest profit contribution margin addition that we've had, period, till date. But it's really cool. I mean, like at the end of the day, it makes so much sense, right? You guys are taking people who've already completed the journey on my store on Obvi, and they're on the thank you page, and you're basically saying, hey, listen, if we can use this opportunity to offer them something else, and we'll pay you if that offer turns into something that is signaling a positive interaction. We'll pay you for the real estate that you're giving us. And I think it's the most fair barter. That's really what I see network offers is it's a barter of saying AfterSell wants to rent some space on the thank you page, and how much do you think the value of that is, right? And when you back out the numbers, the amount you guys are paying, I mean, I think we added like 40 or 50, I think it's like 50 plus cents per transaction. That's immense. Like that means I have to work that much less to go and find that profit elsewhere, which is huge. We've had zero complaints about it. We've only had good things to say about it. I think it actually elevates our brands from some viewpoints of like, oh, it's pretty cool. Like I'm getting offers for like these premium companies, right? Like you're not going out there and just offering some random product you found on some random website. You're offering Hulu, Disney, Apple, Netflix. Like these are things that like I'm associating Obvi to now, right? And it's I think there's a lot of cool ways to look at it, but at the end of the day, I think it really, really helps. And I see Val asking a question in the public forum, which I know we have a lot of questions there. So Val, great question. Aren't you afraid that third-party offers will dilute or damage your brand? And I'm not even gonna lie to you. That was the first thing I thought about, Val. It's like, wait, are people gonna look at this and say like, why is Obvi doing this? Or like, what is the point of this? And you realize like at this point, the sentiment is people have already purchased from you. They're excited for their purchase. And what they're using the thank you page for is one, confirmation that what they've ordered is what they're going to be processing. So they'll, browse around a little bit. And in a small area around there, they're also getting offered something that could potentially also improve their life, whether it's a cool offer to something, whatnot. When you have somebody that's trusted your brand enough to buy from you, right? You offering them something else should not damage your brand. It should actually almost reinforce as like, oh, you know what? If I'm going to check out Hulu, I'll at least do it on the helm of a brand that I trust, rather than maybe just going to Google and just typing in Hulu and seeing some random ad. So I think, Val, I totally hear what you're saying, but I also think the flip side is almost equally true, where it can actually help take some of the customer base you have and reinforce that, wow, we have these cool partnerships, that you can take advantage of. And these partnerships actually really elevate some brands more than anything.
Yeah, that's a good way to add that. And on top of that, I do want to say that this is something the most concerned a lot of the brands that we've chatted with are worried about. And a lot of time we tell them like these are really partners that we take months and months to work with and actually be able to be like, hey, have that displayed on your thank you pages. I guess Kevin, like, have you had any brands that actually also have the similar concern, or are they more than willing to have third party offer as an add-on, because it's part of the transaction moment that we have?
Yeah. Yeah, so I've had tons of conversations with merchants, and whether they've heard about it or not heard about it. But the biggest thing that I've seen is that when it sort of clicks for them is like that mindset shift, where they initially they see it, they're like, I don't want to show ads on my page, like it's advertising, and they have this negative connotation with ads. But the more they learn about it, the more they understand it, the more they start to see it as an offer. And it's that mindset shift from ad to offer is that biggest click for them, where they start to realize, oh, like I'm rewarding my customer with like a very highly exclusive ad, or sorry, highly exclusive offer that you wouldn't be able to search up on your own. You're not going to get shown this by trying to Google it. This is something that's been highly catered and shown to you specifically based on like the AI recommendations that we have going on. And so this is something that they start to see as like, oh, like this is actually, again, building that relationship with my customer. I'm rewarding them for shopping with us. They're getting this just because they came through my brand. And again, like Ron said, they start to build that association with these huge blue chip brands, and it starts to instill a little bit more trust, more confidence that Obvi's working with like Hulu, Obvi's working with all these different brands, and they start to build that association. And that's when they get that huge mindset shift where, okay, these are actually good. These are offers that I'm giving to them rather than looking at it as like, oh, this is just an ad that I'm showing my customer. It hurts the customer experience, but it really does the opposite. Right. And as soon as that mindset shift clicks in, that's when you see the lights turn on. And that's when the ball starts rolling and they're like, okay, this starts to all make sense to them. And yeah, that's probably one of the biggest things that, or the most common things that I see.
Yeah, and I think like once you see the money or the pure profit that you're making, you're like, yep, this
Yeah,
is
that's good too.
yeah, that's the good part.
Yeah.
And yeah, things that you guys are concerned about is all these brands like Obvi or even like Jones Road, all these guys are equally worried about. But once they actually enable it, they see the actual why this network offers make sense to them. They actually feel more comfortable because it really helps with, like repeat customer curious, like what other offers that you guys have for me that I would love to go back. And, this is just how this additional new profit channel that we've built with all the transaction moments that in placement that can actually help you to generate more revenue, increase AOV, and of course now pure profit as well that is going into your pocket. And Ron, I think this is my curious question is that all the money that you have made from this third party, what have you done with the money? Like, did you invest and reinvest into ads? Like, what did you do with it?
Great question. We actually, for me, it's always like anything we can do to make Ash's life easier, which is he's obviously at the helm of paid marketing, and he's every day he's still the one that's running ads till this day. 5 years later, he's the one who sets up ad campaigns and everything on Facebook. Anything that we can do to so and say, hey, listen, you have a little bit more allowable on your CPA or a little bit more room to scale, just makes his life literally exponentially easier, even if it's just 50 cents. And so we reinvested it right back into our allowable CPA.
And you're welcome, Ash. We love you here. We're giving you all the love that we can here. This is awesome. But yeah, thank you so much. And we are reaching to the very end of today's session with a Q&A. I know there is like a couple here. If you guys have any more questions for Ron, like please feel free to like flow them in. In the meantime, I'll pull out a couple here that I'm seeing is that more so it could be Kevin, more so it could be Ron's. But what are some upselling tactics do you not recommend? I think Ron, this could be something that I feel like you've seen it before, but I'm curious if you have any, tips here on this particular question.
I've seen it a couple of times where people will literally upsell, like on a single product, they'll upsell a whole entire bundle. And I'm just like, wait, I just got committed to buying this $40 item, and now you want me to buy this $120 bundle? It makes no sense, right? First of all, what's in the bundle? And I have to get re-educated on all of these items. And you're asking me to spend and commit to triple the amount that I've committed to, which just seems crazy. So I think that's one thing I've just never heard working. And then another thing that I feel like I think a lot of people do sometimes is like it's cross-selling without it making sense. Like you can't just cross-sell because you have other SKUs and you're just going to toss it into a cross-sell. Like cross-sell doesn't literally just mean, okay, let's cross-sell something else. It's cross-sell has strategy involved, right? Like if you're cross-selling a fat burner with, let's say, something that's going to also help you sleep at night, makes sense because fat burner has caffeine and this is going to help you sleep at night. So to pair it off as an all-day thing makes sense. But if you're going to take a fat burner and then you're going to cross-sell, a carb blocker, which is like reverse effects, it has reverse effects, it doesn't make any sense, right? So I think make obviously products that make sense on the cross-sell. But yeah, those two things I think are definitely things to just keep in mind.
Yeah, Absolutely. I think that's a good way to put it. Like I think I do agree that people do start selling bundle, and I think that's the first few things that brands have been asking a lot of time. It's like, hey, I would love to subscribe and put them into a subscription. That is a different thing, but as a bundle, it's like a whole new thing where that you're making them spend even way more money. But on top of that, you're just giving them like the most like little probably like 10 to 20 discount, and like that's like really not the most ideal situation. You really want to educate them as much as you can before really going into. That's why we have upsell, too, and then that's where the thank you page, you can also add another upsell portion there as well. Now let's get into a different question that I'm trying to look at it if there's any more exciting ones here. um Maybe from Kevin, are you able to see some of the Q&As that might be also of any interest on your side? Okay. Nope. I think Kevin's um
Sorry, Mike. I don't know why it wasn't letting me unmute for some reason.
oh, you're good. You're good. Are you seeing any, I guess, like, I think somebody was asking, like, if there is a way for you to actually increase your conversion in the checkout, and do we do A/B testing? I think that's like one of the few
Yeah.
that we have not touched point on that. Like, Kevin, like, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah. So A/B testing, like you can do I guess you could test it on a lot of things, but oftentimes like a big mistake that I see people doing when it comes to A/B testing is that they're trying to test too much at once. So they'll change the discounts, they'll change quantity, they'll change like pictures, like the images. They'll try to test against different products, and then they'll let it run for a couple weeks. But then they see some differences, but then now they don't know what actually impacted or made that difference. So one like best practice I do recommend when you're doing these A/B tests is like pick one variable, start with that variable, and then test on that first and foremost. And then in terms of like which offers to A/B test, again, this is something that can be like subjective. Like for example, like Ron's team they're selling like their best sellers, and this can be done by looking at like your analytics and seeing what like your top products that are being sold. What you can also do is that if you wanted to test, and we have this functionality as well in an after sell, is if you want to test like how your products do in like the most expensive products versus like the least expensive products that are being sold, you can do that. So tons of different ways we could do testing on different discounts, whether you're testing against 10% to 15%, or if you want to try to upsell like one product or additional two products to see if you can bump that up. So tons of different ways to A/B test, but again, it is very nuanced, I would say. So this is something that can be decided with like your team, or you can ask us for advice based on your specific strategies. But yeah, it's a little difficult to say which offers to A/B test, but yeah, just tons of different ways.
Yeah, I guess, Kevin, if I were a brand as well, like, is there a possible way for me to A/B test of 50% of my customer can actually see the upsell, and then the other 50 can only see like maybe just an upgrade, and maybe some with reviews, like some with different widgets? Is that something that we can be done through that A/B testing?
Yeah, of course. Within the actual widgets themselves, like you can build out different A/B tests. So if you wanted to test like a upsell that has a testimonial and doesn't have a testimonial, you can do that as well to see which performs better. You can test out against different types of testimonials, or you can test out against different types of trust badges. So tons of different ways to A/B test. But again, one thing to keep in mind, it does take time and patience, because again, we don't want to test too many variables at once. We want to make sure that we are very specific on what we're testing, so that way we know the type of impact that it is making.
Yeah, and how often do you think anyone should actually do an A/B test from the checkout perspective? Is there a timeline? Do we have to do it like for a month, or 2 weeks? Like, what's the best way to get those results to
Yeah.
compare?
So I wouldn't say too long, but I would say the longer the better. So that way we don't have any small little hiccups. So if you have a week that you're doing like crazy amounts of sales, it might be kind of like an off week for you. Or if you're having doing not a lot of sales, it could be a little off there. So running it over several weeks is probably best that I would recommend. So that way you can get an average on how they're doing rather than just letting it run for a week. And this sort of increases like the chance of little hiccups here and there. So just running it for a couple of weeks is probably what I best recommend.
Awesome. And Ron, do you guys also do A/B tests? I would assume you do A/B tests for everything. You're like a scientist that makes sure you get the results. And how long does it take for you? It doesn't have to be on the upsell perspective. It could be anything, even from ads and even from ad spend and whatnot. Like, I'm kind of curious, like, what is like the end goal once you do the A/B test, and like what will be the happiest results that you'd like to see from it?
Yeah, it's a great question. Typically, ideation, we do weekly ideation,
Mhm.
and then we go into a cycle of at least putting 2 tests into work during that week. We are driving anywhere between like 15 to 20,000 visits a day, so we typically can get a good test tested within like 5 business days, and that's our typical cadence now. So it's like ideate, get that in motion to test it. In a week, we usually get results. We're waiting for anywhere between 15 to 20,000 sessions. Once we have those results, we look at pretty much a few different metrics, right? Like conversion rate, revenue per session, and then obviously just overall impact to projected revenue based on the new conversion rate and revenue per session. And then from there, we decide like, hey, does this need more time? Because we have, sometimes you get married to your ideas. Like there are some things that me and Ash will like be like, oh, this will definitely work, and then it completely fails, and we're like, let's do another week of this, and I think that's the one part where you can't get married to your ideas. We do it a bit too much, but I would say within a week, sometimes maximum 2 weeks, we go from idea to tested to implementing based on results.
Amazing. All right. And there you have it, guys. I really appreciate your time, Ron, on today's session here. I really just
Of
appreciate seeing
course.
that you're constantly really, really supportive. And I really appreciate that. Is this like how many order session MS you get on each variant? Okay. Well, I will have them answer on the other side. But yes, thank you so much for on the webinar. And whoever who's joined us, we are offering you guys a 60-day free trial on the checkout. It is only for Plus merchants. And so if you're already a Plus and you're not using checkout, we're offering that 60-day free trial. And we will be sending you a post email and to tell you what the promo code is so that you can share it with our team. But yeah, if there's any other question, Ron, where can people find you? I know you're active on Twitter, but I also think you've been busy. So I don't know. Where's a good place?
Yes. I think the best place is hit me in my email, Ronak at my Obvi. I'll throw it in the chat. Otherwise, yeah, Twitter, Obvi CEO, and LinkedIn. Try to get to everything, but Black Friday definitely takes up a little bit more time this season.
Thank you so much. And yeah,
Of course.
that's the email. If you guys want to look for Ron, hopefully he respond. But if not, give him some time. But happy BFCM to everybody. And thank you so much for joining us today.
And thank you for having me, guys. Incredible job and great audience.
Absolutely. Have a good one. Thank
Thank
you.
you, guys. Take care.
Okay.